Okay, brilliant. So guys, I think this is going to be a comparatively shorter lecture. There's just a couple of things that I realized that we probably should be covering in this part of the course. In fact, let's start off with talking about deleting rows and columns. So like you see in the last lecture that we had, we could ideally select the color that we want. So I'm just going to go for no fill. So there's no highlighting done here. So when you talk about deleting rows and columns, let's say you want to delete a couple of cells, you could probably select this and press the delete button, but if you see the formatting is still there. On the other hand, if you had some text in this, if you had different sorts of text, and if you applied the same thing and you press delete, then your text would disappear but the formatting would remain. So there's two ways that you can probably get rid of this. Number one is that you come here and you select no borders, so technically your borders will be removed and your cells will be as good as new. On the other hand, and let me just restore the setting right now. In fact, that reminds me, there's one really important thing that I missed out, which we're going to be covering here. So may not be a really short lecture, but comparatively shorter. There's another thing that you can do is that you select the cells and then you go and select delete. So automatically your cells will be deleted, but the drawback of this, of course, is that the cells that were towards the right will be moved here. So if you have some data that's really important, so you want to make sure that it is not affected adversely as a result of this activity. So I'm just going to cut this data and I will be coming here, right clicking, and then pasting my data, which is, this is the paste sign. So I paste it here, so you see my data is back here again. So that's how you want to delete some rows. Now you talk about let's say if you have 3 entries and I probably missed out someone, so what I can do is that if I want to add Mary here, so I select the row and I select insert. So automatically the row above the row that I've selected a blank row will appear. Let's say if I want to have a row right above this row, again I select this row and I press on insert. Similarly, let's say I want to have another thing that needs to be added before weekdays, so I go to the column right after the column that I want to add the column to and I press insert. So automatically a column is then now added. So that's how you add a row, that's how you add a column, just to make sure that data is there. I'm just going to Control C copy and Control V. So that's one. And similarly, if you want to delete a row, so you select the row directly and you press delete, but if you see the data that you had here was deleted as well, so probably I don't want to do that. So how do I make sure, in fact, let's say I committed a mistake, let's say I did something wrong and I want to go back. So for that you have a really good tool in Excel, that is undo. The short key for undo is Control Z, and basically what this does is, and it's a basic understanding is, what I did was wrong, so please go back to the original situation. So I click on this once and if you see, what was deleted is now back. So it's basically undoing the action, and let's say that we've undone it for some reason, but we now feel that probably we had made the right decision, because I realized that this was a blank cell after all. We could go here and press Control Y probably, or directly press this button, which would be redo. So undo and redo, very important concepts. I'm just going to delete this cell. So we've talked about how you can undo and redo your cells. Let me just use Format Painter to color this cell, and I should have clicked on this twice. Okay, we've covered adding columns, we've talked about adding rows. Now one of the best functionalities, I think one of the really good functionalities about Excel is that when you're entering data, let's say 1, 2, 3 and 4, and you want to go on for like 50 and 100 and values that are really large, rather than entering the values manually, what you can do is that you select the data And if you see here, there's a small box towards the right of the last cell. If you scroll, I would say hover your cursor over this, you will see that a plus sign would appear. Now just click on this once and start dragging the thing down. So if you have a look, there is a small number that's appearing, that's technically telling me that if I drag this down, this is what's going to be the new entry in this cell. So let's say I drag it down to 15. I no longer click it, so automatically my data is now populated 1 to 15. So this is a really cool feature, and in fact let me add a couple of rows above this. Just one thing I want to show you guys. So let's say I want to go back, so again I select this, and so if you see, it's automatically realizing that this is a number line that we're following, and it automatically populates the data. So it's very clever of Excel to understand this. But I think what's even more clever with Excel is that, let's say I want to have the days of the week written here. So I write Monday, Tuesday, and rather than going for writing the entire week, I select this. Again, I come to fill handle. Okay, maybe I didn't mention that name, so we call this fill handle, this plus sign. We drag this down and automatically it shows you Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it automatically populates the data. And if you take that forward, so it automatically adds your data to the cells that you've been selecting. So two really cool things. You don't really have to have a numerical manual entries for all the data. You can probably just select the data and drag and drop it, and similarly for weeks and stuff like that you can do the same. I would say that it's really cool. In fact, I haven't checked this out, but if you even give Excel a pattern, it usually detects that pattern. So let's say I think I'm fairly decent with maths, so if 2 1s are 2, 2 2s are 4, and 2 3s are 6. So if let's say that we're working on the table of 2, so I select the data, and if I fill handle it, so automatically it's recognizing that there's a gap of 2 between these, and it's automatically populating the data. So these are a couple of things that I feel are really cool and important in Excel at the same time. Just to make sure that you guys have a really good understanding of this, I will be uploading this worksheet in the next to the video, so you can always access this, try to play around with it. And if there's any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me in the comment section. I will see what I can do to help. So thank you so much. See you in the next lecture.